Hi, and welcome to Ladies of Another View on Back. And we are joined today with Andrea. Well, I better start with Kendi. Andrea, we got to go in order here. And Pete Hannibut. He is the Director of Public Policy with the North Dakota Farm Bureau.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure to be here.
We've just enjoyed visiting right before the show started, so I know this is going to go by super fast, and we will definitely have you on again so we can talk about bigger issues in the farming community. But I asked you on today to talk about a recent study published in the Washington Post that air pollution from farm animals is causing almost 18,000 deaths a year. Mm-hmm. Who knew, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say, you know, when you read the article in its entirety and you do a little bit of research about the author, it seems like there's a little bit of an agenda here. And I think if you compound junk science with speculation, you can come to a lot of conclusions. And the more I read the article, when he says things like it's linked to, they don't say proven that this has anything to do with anything, but they say, you know, linked to, so that's kind of speculative. And then, you know, you read the article a little later and they talk about the people who are affected by it. Well, you know, apparently those people that were included as impacted by it had to live in a complete bubble that nothing else in their world could have ever had anything to do with their health issues other than this one thing. When you think about people in that area of North Carolina, it's near Fayetteville, east of Charlotte, and closer to the coast. Heavily populated area. They obviously have a lot of regular air pollution that we would all have from cars and anything else. And yet none of those things had any impact on these people's health. It's all attributed to ammonia basically from livestock. And as you read the article and you read the way they phrase some things, and certainly the bio of the guy who's allegedly doing the research, you realize that he's kind of an anti-meat person from the get-go. And so if you're one of these environmentalists that has an agenda that is anti-meat and you're trying to move people away from a protein-based diet that comes from the livestock industry, why that's your natural thing, that you have to attack something. The fact that the environmental quality folks in North Carolina did some monitoring and found that it had no appreciable effect, and then it was so negligible that they stopped the research. This guy says, well, the research wasn't complete. And it's like, well, they found nothing. And so you're taking that as a it must be true kind of thing. And so, you know, when you take junk science, compound it with innuendo, and compound it with a few other speculative things, and accept facts that are not in evidence, the only real manure in the whole article is about the guy's writing skill and nothing to do with what the pigs are producing.
I'm so glad that you made the time to come on today. That was so well said. And so junk science, and yet the Washington Post took it and ran with it, huh?
Well, and when you realize, you know, the Washington Post probably has their own agenda. Surely we wouldn't think that here in common sense country. But, you know, anything east of the Mississippi, it's a shame that folks with an agenda and folks from academia that are supposed to be based on science, they took this and they actually ran with it as if it was the truth. And you know, science is supposed to be, you should be able to replicate it. You should be able to come back and do the same study over and over again and prove the same theories as fact. This has none of that. It's not really science. And unfortunately, from my perspective, what it means for North Dakota is people read an article like this and they think there's some truth in it. And so, you know, this is a county of 58,000 people, so a county that has a population less than Bismarck, certainly more than Mandan, but they take a county that's the size of Sargent County in North Dakota, and they put 58,000, 59,000 people in that county, so the population densities are so much different. You read this research and you think, oh my gosh, this is going to affect counties in North Dakota, where Sargent County, that's about the same size square miles wise, has, you know, less than 2,000 people. And so you spread all those people out and there's no risk to anybody in the production of meat in North America, and certainly not in North Dakota. But you hear something like this and then you think, oh my gosh, if we let that hog farm come in down the road from us, we're all going to die from ammonia poisoning. And it just compounds the ignorance of people, and they play on people's ignorance. The Washington Post isn't worried about being truthful or scientific, and that's what we get out of it.
So what I hear you saying is it really matters who is doing the research
Absolutely.
and who is writing the articles, because they write those titles. How do we get the right people doing the research and writing the articles?
That's a really tough, good question, really tough thing to do, because academia in America, particularly east of the Mississippi, they have skin in the game that is, if you don't publish, you perish, and so you're encouraged to put something out, whether it's based in real facts or not. And so it's a shame that we have to fight this uphill battle to defend our way of life and our decisions on diets. We let somebody from Harvard, base that on junk research, and I don't know how you change that in academia to make them really science-based anymore, because they've gone off the edge, and we've seen it in other fields as well. And so, I hate to pick on a whole litany of things that I would disagree with the quote-unquote science community, but boy, oh boy, they're not what they used to be, and they all have an agenda.
So what's your personal opinion as to why do you think there's this huge attack on the meat industry?
Well,
and I mean, there's this huge push
Sure.
towards fake meat now.
Sure.
So
Sure.
why do you think that is?
Well, there's a number of people that, maybe they're well-intended people that think that, they're going to save the planet, but their assumptions are not based on any real facts. You can find plenty of research that says a diet with meat is much healthier for you than a vegetable diet. But in the last part of the article, the guy tells you what his real agenda is. He wants to move people from a meat diet to a vegetable and fruit diet. That's his agenda. And so that push is out there. Why people buy into it, I suppose it's because, junk science makes them worried about things. But it's happening across America, and you see more people that are vegans and all this kind of stuff, and I don't know that it's leading to a healthy lifestyle for them. If obesity is as bad as we're told that it is in America, and we're moving away from a meat diet, how do those two things happen? But, you're supposed to move away from a meat diet to move yourself away from obesity, and that doesn't seem to help. So the common sense factor doesn't add up, and it doesn't pass the smell test. But people that have an agenda, that's what we're going for.
So where do you go to? What do you read to look for research on these topics?
You can find, there's plenty of good science out there, but you have to be careful about which universities and whether they have an agenda to begin with. Some of them obviously do, but I get to where I'm trusting less and less from mainstream academia, and I just have to go to trusted sources.
Like
universities that I would trust, of course.
Sure.
That maybe isn't universities that everybody knows about, but I'd trust Hillsdale, I'd trust Purdue, because that's where I went.
Okay.
You could trust NDSU. We have common sense in this state, but I certainly wouldn't trust a university, that is in the East Coast media market or the West Coast media market, because they have an agenda.
Right, and that was obvious because they gave most of the attention. They talked to somebody who was with the pork producers and the beef producers. They gave them maybe 2 sentences, and they both said, this doesn't sound right. And yet the article is saying that there are more people dying annually from pollution from animals than are dying from the coal industry pollution. So it's like, throw coal industry out there to really blacken the reputation of animals. And you can just see the agenda written all over it. It
breaks my heart that people would buy into it when you know that every municipality around this state and most other places have their own waste management pond for human waste. And they have lagoons. Apparently those lagoons can't hurt people, but livestock lagoons can hurt people. They never think about the waste that we as humans generate, but they think about, because they'd have to look in the mirror.
Right, yeah.
But they're willing to blame livestock
yeah.
waste and those lagoons.
Right.
And, there's so many things in the article when he talks about spreading manure, which are wrong, versus the practices that have been followed for years and years and years of injecting that in the ground so you don't have that ammonia smell and all that. There's an awful lot of holes in the article, and it's just
Pete,
a shame that the Washington Post picked up on it.
We're going to have you on again. I appreciate you coming on today, but I really want to do an entire program where we talk about some of the farm issues. So thanks so much for coming on.
My
coming
pleasure.
up, we're going to have Julie Lawyer with the Burleigh County State's Attorney's Office, and she's going to talk about some of the crime rate around here. When we come back with Ladies of Another View, I'm back.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
If you don't know what's going on in education in this country, then you don't know what's going to happen in the future of this country. And it's important. I'm Dr. Duke.
And I'm Katie.
Watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after hours oasis of sanity. How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and moving right along, we are now joined with Julie Lawyer, and I have to say it, and she's a lawyer.
I get that a lot.
Sorry, of course you do. Of course, and I debated, should I even say anything about it? And I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it, you know.
I did not become a lawyer because my last name is Lawyer. I actually married into it.
Well,
and
you were already a lawyer?
Yes.
Oh.
And so I couldn't pass it up. My husband said I could keep my maiden name, but it's no.
I
have to be Julie Lawyer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was perfect. And Julie is the Burleigh County State's Attorney. Is there another title?
Nope.
State's Attorney.
State's
That's
Attorney,
your correct title. And I was hearing some interesting statistics. I want to talk about the North Dakota crime rate. We just came out with some statistics, and I know you're in charge of Burleigh County, but I bet you can talk about some of that too. As a matter of fact, look what popped up. Now this is for Burleigh County, and not everybody watching is necessarily from here, but I think we even have people in Long Island and different countries, so you might all find it interesting to see what is going on in a city the size of Bismarck. What are we, like 60, 70,000? Where are we at?
For the city population, I think the county population is 94,000 last time I saw, approximately, for the entire county, yes.
So for 94,000, this is what's happening, and these are last year's statistics. And you can see burglary went up 36%. What is going on?
I wish I knew. And that's part of the problem too. It's like the crime rates fluctuate with certain things that we see come in. And so we're seeing a lot of, I know in 2020 a lot of the crime statistics went down, but a lot of them went up as well. Like you said, the burglary went up, homicides went up across the state too, as you saw in those crime statistics.
Right, we're going to get to that later, but
and
yeah.
so what accounts for that? It depends on what's going on in the community. I think a lot of why we had less drug offenses is because we had less people out and about and getting caught with their drugs. I think that's what helps with that. Burglaries, on the other hand, I don't know what's happening to prompt those to rise at this point. We're not seeing a big difference in people coming into the state, you know, permanently or staying. We are seeing some people coming in and dealing drugs from like the Michigan area. We're seeing a lot of rise in that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, because that's where I'm from, and I keep seeing Detroit, like, hey, what's going on? There's like a connection. As a matter of fact, I'll be going there next month. But I suppose you would have to maybe talk to some of the burglars and say, what'd you do this for? And what's going on here? And try to figure out, piece it together.
And I was going to say, as you see from the statistics in the statewide one anyway, you can see the number of reports that are made and the number of cases that are cleared. And these are some of the harder cases to clear, to solve, because a lot of the times it's reported after the fact when people come home and see that their homes have been entered or that property's missing. And so trying to go backwards and piece together, who did that, it's harder to do in those types of cases. So you'll see those statistics where those cases aren't cleared as much as personal crimes, for instance.
So with the burglaries, are people locking their homes? Are people are they legit breaking in, or it's just they're entering homes that are not locked? Is there statistical commonality?
So I don't know that anybody keeps track of those specific statistics, and burglary can be, it's just the taking of property from another. Going into a residence actually, or going into property to commit a crime. So, and typically those crimes are theft. And I don't know that anybody keeps statistics regarding how many people or how many are actually break-ins to homes and things like that. But we're not seeing any real differences in that. People are breaking into homes that are locked and those that are unlocked. We don't have a lot of people that go through and look for open doors. They just go to whatever's convenient.
What about surveillance cameras? More and more people have these home security systems. They have these doorbells that, you see everybody taking packages because the doorbell captured it. Is that making a difference in as far as arrests and finding people?
It absolutely is. Sometimes it's harder because, those doorbell cameras especially are far enough away from the street that you can't capture license plate numbers, but they are clear enough that we can see faces of people on there. And so that's when law enforcement will post it on their Facebook pages, and they'll ask the public, if you recognize this person, contact them and report that. And so if you do see that on local law enforcement pages and you do recognize somebody, please call them, because that's what it takes to solve these cases.
That's funny. Just this week over at Cathedral, there was a case solved, and I don't know, it must have been on surveillance. Somebody locked his bike up and then saw a scooter with the key in and took off on the scooter. They posted it on social media because they recorded the whole thing and they caught the guy. So
yeah,
look
they
out,
do help.
criminals. There's cameras everywhere, right?
Yep.
Let's look at some of the other charts that I have, and we'll talk about those, some of the crime. Okay, now this is some of the drug seizures. This surprised me because I thought the drug crimes were up, but actually, at least in Burleigh County, they're down almost 12% from last year. From, I guess that would be from 1919 to, 2019 to 2020, right?
Correct.
Do you have thoughts on that as to why it had gone down?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the times that we get drug cases referred to our office, it's usually like a traffic stop, and then drugs are found within there. We do have specific officers that are assigned to drug dealing and trafficking, and so they find things differently. And so just possession of drugs alone, it's usually in conjunction with another offense that officers are investigating that those are found. And again, with a lot of places being restricted and shut down, there weren't a lot of people out and about like they were before. And so from what we've seen so far in 2021, that's going to increase again.
The drugs?
Correct. All the crimes across the board, it seems.
Is the drug part of that, well, here we are talking, well, we're hold off on the homicide yet, because I still want to talk about the whole drug thing. Because there's this Michigan connection, Detroit, to be exact, and I grew up right across the street from Detroit, literally, right across the street. And I keep seeing this connection. So what is going on there between Detroit and Bismarck, where there's drugs coming in, and there must be people waiting? Are they distributing them across the state? Do they go to the oil fields? Where are all these drugs going? Who's buying them?
So we do have a big Detroit connection in the state of North Dakota, where we're seeing people coming from Detroit bringing drugs in and selling drugs in North Dakota. The only thing I can account for that is that they can make more money selling drugs in North Dakota than they do in Detroit. For instance, I had a case where individuals were bringing crack cocaine, this was quite a while ago, from Chicago, because they could sell the same bag for $5 in Chicago, they could sell that here for $50. So the markup, because it's harder to get in here, is so much more than they could get in their local communities, that they've just found this is a fertile selling ground. And so we need to work on drying up the supply so that the demand isn't there for them to sell it. And so we are seeing a lot of people from the Detroit area coming in and selling drugs, and it's across the state. It's on the Indian reservations as well.
Well, I'm flying to Detroit next month, so if I can help you. Just kidding, just kidding. I'll stay away from that. But
good
yeah,
idea.
but it makes me think, just flying back and forth, that, you know, they probably are really looking closely at the passengers, right? Because you've got that connection going back and forth. Or do they usually drive, I suppose?
It's a lot easier to get drugs to and from places by driving than
Right.
it is to do on airlines,
Right.
because the airlines have so many restrictions regarding what you can take on, and of course, you know, they search you before you go on, and so no, we're seeing it driven in. And with that, we're also seeing a high number of weapons that are being used or possessed during drug crimes as well, especially with that Detroit connection.
Interesting. Well, we have more crime to talk about, and maybe you can give us some suggestions on what to look out for also when we come back after these messages with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. What happens with national debt? Does anybody even care anymore? Do you think Governor Burgum truly understands the legislative process?
You know, I think he's got a better understanding now than he did 2 years ago.
Why in the world are we having a conversation about being anti-vaccination? Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Ever been in a cave before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the car! But how will we? The car! Your offer's been accepted. Ever bought a house before?
It's our first time.
All right.
Where are you going?
I'll see you at the closing. But how will we? The closing!
Hey everybody, I'm Doug Billings, your host of The Right Side with Doug Billings on Beck News. We bring you high-profile guests, ladies and gentlemen, exclusive guests. Now, you're not going to see these guests in most of the mainstream media outlets. Another thing that I do here is give guests a platform to speak freely. You're not going to see me censor anybody. Please join us, won't you? Weeknights right here on Beck TV and online at beck.news. Cheers.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are once again joined with Julie, lawyer, and she's the Burleigh County State's Attorney. We were talking about drugs, and we're not done because there are so many aspects to to the crime of drug usage. And you're saying that you're seeing it go up. It's not hit the statistics officially yet, but it's going up, and there's crimes related to that as well, right?
We do. We see that people that commit other crimes either use alcohol or drugs in the course of commission of those other crimes. And so drug crimes, as we see them, aren't related just to possession or trafficking of offenses. It's also related to other offenses that are committed as well. And you can see that in the crime statistic report that came out from the North Dakota Attorney General for 2020. I just kind of ran through those after it came out. And for the homicide cases that they have listed, murder alone, 40% of those cases involve.
Let's pull up that chart on. We have one that shows the dramatic increase. Now, if you're from a state with a lot of big cities, you might go, 32 murders, but look at the sharp increase. That is not what we are used to here.
No, it's not. Burleigh County had 2 last year, 2 homicides that we prosecuted, and typically it was 1 every other year that we would see. And so we've seen a sharp increase in that. But regarding the statistics regarding alcohol and drug use, 40% of those 2020 homicides involved somebody using alcohol or drugs, according to the North Dakota Attorney General's crime report. The other thing that I found interesting was that 41% of the weapons violations involved alcohol or drug use as well. And that's kind of in line with what we're seeing with drug traffickers having weapons usually when they're committing their offenses. We've seen an increase in that enhancement for drug trafficking with a weapon.
So even if you legalize drugs, and that's hotly debated, not just marijuana, but drugs in general, they say, well, it's everybody's decision, and it's a never-ending battle, but then you have all these other things happen when people are using drugs.
Right, it's the same way with alcohol. You'll see, assaults we see are involved, bar fights. You see those quite frequently too, we do. And so alcohol and drug use do account for commission of other crimes, because individuals who are using those substances sometimes will do things they won't normally do. And so we would see an increase in people using drugs if it were legalized. I mean, that's clear from the statistics in other states where that's been happening. And so we would expect to see a decrease in drug crimes, but an increase in other crimes.
And I don't know if I read the statistics correctly. I was trying to do a little research this morning. And are the domestic abuse cases, are they almost always involved with drugs and alcohol, or?
We do see a lot of those cases precipitated with drugs and alcohol, but not all of them are. And in 2020, we did see an increase in those types of personal crimes as well. And again, I kind of account for that by, people are together more, and they don't have, they weren't having those breaks or being apart. And so there was kind of an increase. We were seeing that during the time that, businesses were shut down and we were working from home. We saw an increase in those types of offenses.
Is there anything that Burleigh County is trying to do right now to kind of combat the rises that are happening? I mean, what's being done in that regard?
So what we're doing is any time that we can, we are recommending that the court order treatment programs. But, as we always talk about, we can order people to go to treatment, but we can't make them participate in treatment and have that treatment take. And we've heard from drug users that it takes about 12 to 13 times in treatment sometimes before they make the life changes that they need to do to leave that behind. And so that's what we can do, that's what we try to do, but it's really up to the person if they want to change.
I found it interesting when the state statistics were just released last week that the Attorney General, Wayne Stengen, did not think that the increase in homicides had anything to do with COVID, people being cooped up, because a lot of people are blaming the increase in drugs and violence. Do you have any perspective on that?
Regarding the homicides, when I was looking at those statistics, it looks like only half of them are domestic related and the other half are drug related, it looks like, from those statistics. And of course, with the drug trafficking, that's not limited to people staying at home. And so, no, I don't think the homicides are related to that, especially the ones we saw in Burleigh County, that wasn't related to the pandemic.
I have something I think, it struck me as kind of funny that you used to have a lot of your officers paying attention to writing bad checks. That was a problem, right?
Yep.
And now, how many people were arrested last year for writing bad checks?
So we don't typically arrest individuals for writing bad checks. Those are a summons into court. But we were running the statistics because every year when we do the budget, we check and see what our numbers are and what we're doing. And I did go back after I had spoken with the commissioner with my portfolio, and the highest we ever had, I think, was around 650 to 700 in 1 year. And last year we had 0.
Oh.
A lot of people aren't writing checks
Isn't
anymore.
that funny?
And the businesses that do accept the checks, they have the Check 2000, I think, was the act where you can do the automatic runs to see if there's money in the account, and if there isn't, they're not accepting the check. And so we're not seeing a lot of those bad checks anymore. In fact, I think last year, gosh, if I remember correctly, it was like 20 maybe, or not last year, I'm sorry, 2019 was about 20, I want to say. So yeah, we're probably not going to count that statistic next year because it's really on the decline.
It went to 0.
Right?
Yes.
It's not even part of.
You solved
what we do,
it.
so.
Yeah.
It's outdated.
Yeah.
Isn't that the goal?
Debit
Always
card
to
solved check
you got
crimes,
rid of a
yeah.
crime.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's good news.
It is.
But now what are they doing instead?
Yeah, identity theft.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
But not writing bad checks. We actually, we used to have a video business. My husband, Mark, used to video weddings, and somebody intentionally, he got a gift for somebody, paid for their video, and it was with a bad check, and that account had already been closed.
Oh.
I thought, so being just one time being the victim of somebody writing a bad check, you just feel like, wow, what kind of people do that?
So touching on identity theft, are you seeing a lot of that in this area? And if so, like, what can people do to protect themselves against that?
So the most important thing to do is make sure that you're destroying any of your paper documents, your receipts with your credit card number on them. Now, normally the receipts just have the last 4 digits, but anything like tax returns that you're done with, shred those. Burn those, something so it's not just thrown in the trash so somebody can find that with your social security numbers on it. At our house, any of those, that junk mail you get for applying for credit cards, I always shred that because I don't want somebody getting that and applying for a credit card in my name. So just keeping track of those kind of documents and making sure that those aren't just floating around out there. That's the number one thing people can do.
Wow, I honestly never even thought of shredding those credit card applications, but that is so, no duh, they could take your name and apply. Wow.
Yeah, because it's got your name and your address on there already for them, and so usually it's just a quick little internet check for other information, and there's a lot out there.
That's crazy.
Or you could go ahead and just file to have fewer of those emails sent to your house to begin with. Less things to shred.
There you go.
Do people actually go through the garbage of businesses or individuals and create, I guess that's what they would do for identity theft in a big way?
They could, but what we've seen too, and so the making sure you're getting less of that mail is a good idea, because we've actually seen, like especially in rural areas where they don't have the locked mailboxes, people going and taking mail out of the mailbox and getting those documents that way. Bank statements, credit card statements, things like that. So getting all of those sent to you electronically, that would be another way. Just make sure your passwords are secure.
We only have 1 minute. What would you, I'm curious, what about porch thefts? Because we see a lot about, you see these little Ring doorbells where the FedEx guy drops a package off and the car is following him and somebody runs out and grabs it. Is that happening around here?
Yes, it is.
Oh dear.
And we've had those Ring doorbell videos that show the person doing it, which helps because of course then we can put those out to the public and find out who it is.
Right.
So what would you want the viewers to know? Like, what would be your closing message?
Seconds, yeah.
Just be safe out there. We've seen an increase in violent crimes, an increase in crimes using weapons. Just a quick stat thing, 2 murders in Burleigh County in 2020, but we did charge out 12 attempted murder defendants. There were 9 cases of attempted murder in Burleigh County, which aren't accounted for in those North Dakota Attorney General stats.
So just be aware of your environment, lock your doors, be careful, probably don't walk around at night by yourself, right? That'd be crazy.
Be safe,
So,
be smart.
yeah, thank you so much,
You're
Julie,
welcome.
for coming on
Thanks
and,
for having
and
me
giving
on.
us
I
good
appreciate it.
information and good advice. So we'll be right back. Well, we're going to see a mama bear take on a school board in New York when we come back after these messages with Ladies of Another View on Back.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve. through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Hop in the rig and go down the road with me. We'll cover local and national stories that impact you. What happens with national debt? Does anybody even care anymore? Do you think Governor Burgum truly understands the legislative process?
You know, I think he's got a better understanding now than he did 2 years ago.
Why in the world are we having a conversation about being anti-vaccination? Down the Road with Joel Heitkamp weekdays at 5:30 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got my pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck, and we are moving right along. It's a packed day today with different topics, and I wanted to at least take the time to recognize this mother in Carmel, New York, who took on the school board because she is tired of the critical race theory and the stuff that's being shoved down the throats of kids, and everybody feels helpless, but we're seeing more and more, and we talk about this on the show, more and more people speaking up. And Tatiana Ibrahim is her name, and I have reached out to her. If she contacts me, I'll definitely have her on the show. But I want you to take a look at how she took on the school board.
Stop indoctrinating our children. Stop teaching our children to hate the police. Stop teaching our children that if they don't agree with the LGBT community, that they're homophobic. You're emotionally abusing our children and mentally abusing them. You're demoralizing them by teaching them communist values. This is still America, ma'am. And as long as I'm standing here on this good ground earth of God, I will fight. And this is not the last of me you will see. With peacefully, or we can take it to the highest courts, because you know and I know I'm not the only parent fighting this all across America right now. Schools are trying to poison our children's minds, teaching them about things that they have no right to be taught in school.
Normally, I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna just give you just a feedback for a moment. I have no problem having a peaceful discussion. This is not a peaceful discussion.
No, that's your opinion. See, here we go again. This is peaceful. To me, this is peaceful.
Well,
I'm not burning, looting, and murdering. This is peaceful.
No, I did not accuse you of that, but I don't have a problem having a conversation with you, a peaceful conversation, which is, this is not.
$6.95 per child in the middle school to buy a curriculum from readtome.org that wasn't even approved by the Board of Ed. You're recruiting children to hate our police officers. How dare you? You have a librarian in the high school passing out Black Lives Matter pins. When a student asks for a blue live, why would I have that? Why would she have that? It's going to end. This indoctrination and hatred towards our police officers, this systematic racism and cancel culture is going to end. You came to the wrong school district to do this, okay? You need to respect every child. So therefore, no politics should be discussed in school, whether it be conservatism, democratic, liberalism.
Woo!
Yeehaw. Let her buck, baby.
That's a mama bear for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I will post the full video on our Facebook page, Ladies of Another View, because it was hard to pick the little pieces. Every bit of it was amazing. They kept trying to get her to be quiet, and she wouldn't.
She wouldn't back down.
No.
She would not back down.
Well, she was the only one that, please forgive me for saying this, but she was the only one not muzzled. I mean, I was looking at the video. Every single person there had a mask on. She was the only one that didn't, and she was speaking to them. And I thought it was interesting, you know, that they're telling her, let's have a peaceful discussion. I mean, she was speaking with passion, but hello, she cares about her kids. She cares about what's happening. And so, of course, you speak with passion because of that. But she was not being disrespectful at all to them. So, anyway, go girl.
Right. Part of the video, she was being told that she wasn't being peaceful. She said, oh, here you go again. This is peaceful to me. And they were trying to say, we'll talk to you, we'll take you aside, and we'll talk later. She says, no, I want everybody to hear, because that's how you get people to be quiet. We'll have a private meeting with you, because they don't want the audience to hear what she's saying. But like she said, there's a lot of parents, and we're seeing it more and more. We're talking about it.
That's a really common tactic. But back to what you said about passion. I was looking to this week at some of the words that people use to describe the way women interact with other people. And one of the phrases that they use is emotional. And you might say that she's emotional, but I like your word choice much better, saying that she is passionate. And that is something that we have, and that it should be seen as a strength. That she can go in there and she can present her argument in a way that does come across as almost forceful, because she cares so deeply about the issue, and because she cares so deeply about the children in her community and about her own children. And her voice should be heard as she goes and does that.
Amen. Amen. And it's like, and until people start stepping up and doing it, I mean, by watching that, she has given other people strength to do that, because so many people feel that way, but they're so afraid to step up and out of their box. Maybe it's not their personality to speak up, but it's really starting to empower other people, men and women alike. Just parents, we've got to step up and stand up for our kids and know what's going into their minds in these schools. We pay for this school. Our taxes pay for this public education, and so we have a right to know what goes into their brains.
And there is a lot of backlash against this critical race theory, because it's basically using racism to fight racism. Doesn't make any sense. And like this lady said, she goes, I'm a Christian, my daughter's a Muslim, but she wouldn't know it because she's so pasty white. And she quoted somebody, and they said, you can't say her name. She said, why can't I? All these people are using their name on social media, saying these awful things. Why can't I? Because they're using their own names on social media. But the backlash against critical race theory is really heating up. And I just listened to Kristen Baszler on the radio yesterday, who's the head of North Dakota education here, and she says that we are not using it in our schools, that it wasn't acceptable, that it doesn't make sense to stir up racism to fight racism.
So that's interesting, because that she would say that, because the state doesn't authorize curriculum in North Dakota. Like, we're not a state adoption kind of state, like Texas and California, where the state puts out a bid and says, we are looking to start a new math curriculum next year, so we want curriculum writers to come in and tell us what you have available, and we'll make a decision at a state level. Oregon does this too, where they say, this is the list of approved math curriculum, this is the list of approved English curriculum, and then the school districts choose from those approved sources. And it sounds like she's in a state where that's their process, where they have a state approval process, and that's generally what the districts and schools would purchase. North Dakota doesn't do it that way.
Well, we need to keep looking into this, because, just listening to one radio interview doesn't convince me that there aren't things to look out for. So we do need to look into this.
Absolutely.
Well, I think it's important for parents. I mean, I'm a parent. I'm almost past that point of having kids in the school system, but it's just so important for us to be aware of what's
you're
being
going to
taught.
have grandbabies in there before you know it.
That's true. That's true. Okay, you're right. Okay, I need to be aware. We all need to be aware of what is being taught in the school system so that as parents we can take a stand. I mean, I know what it's like to stand in front of the school board. It's scary, but we have to raise our voice. And when we do, we actually can bring about change. So.
And we do pay taxes. We pay taxes for the schools. And we live in these communities, and what our children are being taught is going to affect all of us.
Because it affects the community. We
Right.
talk about the reason why public education is important, because it builds up the community and makes the community stronger. It's important to me that the people that are in our community, the ones who go send their kids to public school, I don't, but I want those kids to do well. I want them to graduate with a high quality education. I want them to know what it means to use critical thinking and logic. I want that for people in my community and for the kids in our community, because they're going to grow up and they're going to be leaders in our community someday too. So I absolutely, you don't have to have a kid in a public school system to care about public education.
You know, the scary thing is, and this is really scary, the kids today, they're going to be the ones choosing our nursing homes and the regulations for our nursing homes. And so there is a big you know, we have got to get control of it at this level while we still can. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, because they are going to be the ones making decisions for us when we can no longer make those decisions for ourselves. And so it's important that we help build our community now, and we can't do it in 30 years.
No.
And that our voice is heard. Any school, they always say, oh, parents are the #1 educators, but they don't always respect that. You know, a lot of times our values are undermined. And one of the things that Tatiana said is, why are you talking about politics? Why are you pushing politics in your classroom? And after the election, they had a questionnaire for the kids, and they were supposed to answer who did they vote, who would they have voted for? And she said, why did you need to know that? What business was that of yours? So kids are being manipulated on politics.
Give us a whole 10 minutes on this sometime, Patty.
Well, there's always different aspects to these different topics, and we will return to it on another show. But for now, we're going to move into the lighter side next with Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel, from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to pull them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Hey Bucks fans,
If you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks!
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after-hours oasis of sanity. How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. I'm so glad you guys are able to fit me in. It's been a busy day today, and we are joined by a guest that we just had to have her on because tomorrow is President Trump's birthday, and there is a huge celebration across the country. So I want you all to meet Kylie Jane Kramer. She is the Executive Director for Women for America First. And also she works with Women for Trump, and her mother was a great role model. But anyway, Kylie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I'm an executive director of Women for America First. We are a nonprofit organization that works all across the country holding events. And we have planned this weekend to hold rallies and sign wavings, boat parades, through June 12th through June 14th, which June 14th is President Trump's birthday as well as Flag Day. So we really are just getting people out across the nation to show our love for the president and also for flag, and also to encourage people to get back engaged in politics. It's been a rough year after COVID and also after the election, and people are feeling really down and out, and we want them to know that they're not alone and that they can come together and join with like-minded people in their area.
Wonderful. Well, right here in North Dakota, we've organized a boat parade. They had one last August, but we're going to do another one this year. And it was kind of short notice this year, but we're hoping people are going to show up tomorrow to meet at on the sandbar that's just outside of the Fox Island boat dock or the boat ramp. So anyway, if any of you viewers can make it to that, meet at the sandbar at 11. The boat parade will be from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock up and down the river there, and just go at idle speed. But Kylie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of plans are going on around the country? I know there's all kinds of activities across the entire country.
Well, absolutely. And I'm so excited that you guys are hosting that boat parade. And listen, this is kind of last minute that we're pulling all of this together. But one of the reasons that this was kind of launched was because there was an MSNBC contributor and also a New York Times board member, Mara Gay, is I believe how you say her name. Anyway, she was on MSNBC talking about how the flag offended her. She saw it at some event, a bunch of different pickup trucks that were out in Long Island, and it was so offensive to her. And I mean, watching this, everybody just could not believe that the American flag offended her. You know, men and women, our veterans, have died for our right to be able to fly these flags very high and to have freedom of speech and so many other things. And so for her to associate the American flag with something that's negative is just heartbreaking. And so we decided to just pull people together, started, you know, old school telephone tree calling and getting back to kind of Tea Party days, because we're all censored on big tech. You can't really get anything out via social media. So we have really just been dialing people that we've known all across the country. I've been very lucky to work in 49 of the 50 states, working in different elections. So we know people everywhere, and just saying like, listen, it can be something as big as a boat parade, or you can gather 5 or 6 of your friends and join on a prominent street corner and wave flags and have signs and just get together. So it's really exciting to see all these different communities coming together. There are different rallies in places. I'm going to be speaking in North Carolina at a Women's Republican event. So I'm just really encouraged to see that people are still engaged in the process. I know that we all feel really down after losing the election with President Trump and seeing how that's all played out. And, you know, there are so many people that had just gotten involved in politics that wanted to encourage the president. And when the outcome did not happen, they feel like their vote doesn't count. And we cannot let those people go away. We need to have them engaged. We need them to get involved in their local communities and to really make sure that we have and fight for election integrity.
Wonderful. I understand your mother was also pretty big in the Tea Party when that kind of came together.
Yes, ma'am, she was. She was chairman of Tea Party Express, but before that, she founded Tea Party Patriots. And I was in college, very embarrassed by what my mother was doing at the time. However, I started following along, and then I was flying out of school every weekend and meeting along with the Tea Party Express. And I could not be more grateful to have an incredible role model like my mother and to have that experience working on the different campaigns. And, you know, it just was something that I very much treasure because of the people that I met across the country. The everyday average American are really, you know, so kind of just left out by the political elite that are in Washington, D.C. So I'm really grateful that I had that experience.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate you coming on today and sharing that information. And I just wanted to point out to our viewers that you were also a producer for Sean Hannity. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, I was. I lived in New York, and I left New York due to COVID. And so now I'm in North Carolina. I absolutely love it. As you can see, it's very nice outside today, so it's a little windy. But one thing that I want to add about the Tea Party movement was that, you know, people ask all the time, what happened to the Tea Party movement? The Tea Party movement is still very much alive and well. And I actually believe that it laid the foundation for the MAGA movement. And so we just have developed different ways of communicating and getting the word out, but it is very much alive and well.
Perfect.
And I could not be more grateful to have had that foundation to get my start in politics.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, and say hello to your mother, and I can't wait to meet her someday. And
Thank
we
you.
just want to
Have
say
fun
thank you
at
for joining
the
us.
boat parade, and everybody can go to magabirthday.com to find other events across the country. Send them to your friends and family, and I'm sure that there's a local event. We're aiming to be in all 50 states.
Thank you, and we appreciate that. And that takes us to the end of our show today. So thanks for sticking around, and go out and celebrate Flag Day this weekend, and go see the boat parade, or if you can get in the boat parade, check it out. But we'll see you next time on Ladies of Another View on Back.